Hey team, I hope all is well. As you just saw, I'm doing a little bit of work. So currently I'm doing check-ins. For those of you who don't know what a check-in is, that's part of our online coaching process with Triage. So when people sign up with us for online coaching, it's not just like a program, it's actually, a coaching process. Like, that's the key difference between buying a program and investing in coaching. So what we do with our clients is, they get their initial program, all that sort of stuff. You don't need to know that for now. And then they check in with us every week. So whether they're working with myself or Paddy, both of us who lead the one-to-one group, the one-to-one coaching, whether they're working with me or Paddy, essentially what they will do is send us an email every week. So that I generally do get emails on a Friday, Saturday or Sunday. My clients will send me over their emails, any additional questions that they have from their week, additional progress photos, and they'll also have filled out their check-in document, which we run on Google Sheets. So that's a document that we've put together to get all of the relevant information on a weekly basis from our clients. So any concerns that they have, how what their weight is, their average weight across the week, waist circumference, how they've been feeling in terms of recovery, in terms of training motivation, digestive markers, for example, stool quality, stool frequency, things like that. What week of their menstrual cycle they might be on, time lapse since their last period, if they're female, obviously, etc. So we get all that sort of information. That's the check-in document, and then we also have a tracking document. So that's like the day-to-day stuff that we're really interested in knowing, so that we can review with them at the end of the week. So then essentially what they do once they've sent that email is Paddy or I will review their check-in document, their tracking documents, their programming, any videos they've sent to us, and answer their additional questions that they've sent on in their email. So that is essentially what a check-in entails. So then we do that for each of our clients. So that's currently what I'm working through at the moment. So that is something that, it takes quite a bit of time, obviously, because you want to try and be as detailed as possible. And obviously that varies then from individual to individual. Some people are, they'll check in and they'll be kind of happy to just, make a couple of quick points and be like, yeah, I'm ready for the week ahead. Others will have more concerns, and that will vary then, from week to week. And that will also vary depending on where someone is in the coaching process. For example, my clients who have been working with me for a year and a half, 2 years, close to 3 years in some cases, they will, generally not have as many questions, whereas someone who's earlier on in the process, they'll have more questions for me, and I'll have more questions for them, because I'm interested in, really making sure that they're getting started with a solid foundation in the coaching process. So yeah, that's essentially what I am up to this morning. I'm very lucky this morning in that I'm not in college until 12, and that's the first time that's actually happened since I've gone back. So that's definitely useful, because it enables me to have that extra time to invest into just sitting down and getting my triage work done. And that is something that I was going to actually discuss in this video, because that's something that a number of people have asked. They've asked, how are you going to balance triage work and college work? And that's something that I wanted to essentially address, because there's a number of important points that I think some of you might find interesting or insightful or useful for your own pursuits, especially if you're doing a number of different things. So for me, with college, it's probably, I'm not sure how many hours it will take on average if you were to average out across the whole semester, but at the moment I would say between say cycling to college, getting there, having a lecture, the time it takes to get between lectures, covering additional material in it, that's added on, because it's not just a lecture. Like, you could get a lecture, for example, we had a physiology 2A lecture that was delivered to us, and then there's a 2B lecture that because the course is condensed in graduate entry medicine, the course is condensed, so they don't have the time to deliver all of the information in a lecture setting. So what they'll give us is another lecture that we then review in our own time, make our own notes on, and again, so that's taking the same duration as a standard lecture. So when you add it all up, I'm not sure, but I'm going to say probably 40 to 50 hours of the week. I would say probably 50 realistically would be allocated to college. So that could be, for example, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. like there could be an hour, it could be like that one of those hours is actually 8 to 9, or it could be 8 to 9 a.m, whatever. So let's say it's just 9 to 6, like, is taken by college Monday to Friday. So that's like 45 hours, and then a few more hours at the weekend. And I imagine that will increase as I go along, and that's why I'm kind of just saying, yeah, somewhere in the region of maybe like 45 to 50 hours per week that's taken from college. So that's like gone. But because like I obviously have a business to run along with Paddy, we have our own roles within the business, different things that we do, I have to make sure that I'm also making time to get all of the relevant tasks completed. So for me this morning, check-ins are on the agenda. That's a big part of this morning, is getting my check-ins done, making sure my clients are looked after. If they need program updates, making sure those program updates are done, answering their questions, as I said, all of those sorts of things that are involved in the coaching process. Then there's also the social media stuff, so I do all of our social media stuff, so that includes sharing all of those infographics and images and posts that you see on our Instagram and our Facebook. That's part of that. That's like a daily task. I wake up in the morning, see what we're posting today, and then I'll post that stuff in the morning. It doesn't take that long, but again, it's a daily task that you have to be on top of. There are other things, such as recording this video. I'll then have to edit this video, post this video, make a thumbnail, stuff like that. Paddy, for example, is the one in charge of the podcast, so he'll edit the podcast. If there's things that need to be edited, he'll share it on the respective podcast, what would you call them, hosting sites, I guess. And then I'll make the pictures for that. So for example, the thumbnail for the podcast, the image that we share that across social media. So that's the way things kind of work within the business, I guess. And then collaboratively, obviously, we record our podcast together. I will do things like gathering up the bank statements and documents that we need for revenue for our accountant. So again, that'll be my task. Paddy's task would be managing the website. He does the kind of back end stuff for our website. I would do, if he has articles up, I'll do the images for them, and that's something I'm trying to like actually catch up on, is reviewing all of our articles, adding more images. So like there's more stuff involved, but you can see like what the different tasks are within the business. Like that's the day-to-day realities of us actually having a business that we have to work together on and try to manage. So another big part of trying to continue to grow Triage while being in college is we just brought on Breed Long as a coach. Some of you may have seen that on our social media. Breed is a very competent coach. We've been, like Paddy and I have essentially said, like as soon as we hire a coach, and don't even want to give her this compliment to be honest, but we've been saying that for probably 2 years, like when we do take on a coach, we'd like to take on Breed. Just because she's always been interested in triage. She's been coached by both of us. We're very well aware of her level of knowledge. She's a really great person in terms of acknowledging the limitations of her knowledge, very humble. So really good qualities that we would look for in a triage coach. So we brought on Breed to run our ladies group coaching. So up until now, the group coaching would have been something that I would have been tasked with in terms of programming. So I've done the group coaching programming up to this point, even though we haven't pushed it that much. So that again is another task that comes into things. Paddy would do the back end stuff for that. And Breed is now coming on board to take over the ladies group coaching. So the ladies group coaching is something that I've discussed already on my personal social media. We've discussed it on our own social media, but it's essentially a group coaching option for women who want guidance online in the form of training, nutrition, support, Facebook support group, etc., etc. So again, the reason I'm bringing that into this conversation is because that is our way of delegating work while trying to build the business without increasing the number of hours that I have to, like in this case, talking about myself, that I would have to invest for us to be able to provide a quality service to our customers, to our clients, the people that are so kind to support our business. So yeah, that kind of gives some insight into what, I guess, what the underlying processes are, like what we actually do, the types of things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis, and then in terms of like the practicality of actually managing that and getting all the work done. The number of hours that are put into triage is something that varies quite a bit. Okay, so it will really depend on my week. This week I have a quieter week in college, so it might be at the bottom end of that 40 to 50 hours that I discussed. So if it's at the bottom end of that, then I'm obviously going to make that up by doing far more triage work than I normally would. So with that, the client work is a constant. Okay, so that's a constant within triage. Okay, so the amount of work that goes into actual clients, that doesn't change unless we obviously take on more or less clients, but we have a certain number that we aim for based on the amount of free time we have, obviously. The things that do vary are the amount of writing that I would do. Okay, so we obviously write a lot of articles for our website, which you will have seen. And one of the articles I'm working on at the moment is an article on the respiratory system. So the anatomy, the physiology, the significance from an exercise perspective of the respiratory system. So how air enters your nose, your mouth, into your lungs, you know, what is actually going on in there, like the bifurcation of the trachea or trachea into the bronchi, the bronchioles, the alveoli, how gaseous exchange takes place, all that sort of stuff. That's what I'm currently writing. So this week I'll have more time to allocate to that, so that is where I will delegate my efforts. So that's a variable thing that goes up and down depending on the amount of free time that I have, because obviously clients are the priority. Secondary priority is then putting out the educational content, but still, it's still a big priority. So you will see that we do put out things on a very consistent basis. And then in addition to that, I always consider my study that relates, like I've always considered study to be part of triage work. So let's say I do 20 hours of things that really need to be done for triage. It could be the case that I do another 10 to 20 hours of, like, I don't know, reading articles, reading research papers, reading books that are specifically related to triage. So now at the moment, that's almost like diluted between medicine, studying specifically for medicine, and studying for, you know, studying more exercise science oriented stuff. So basically all I'm doing at the moment is varying the amount I do of each depending on the sort of time that I have available. So for example, if I've got like a lot of college work to do, there's things that I really need to try and grasp a bit more. I'm at the point where I'm relatively confident that my knowledge of exercise and everything the knowledge that I really need to have on a day-to-day basis to be able to coach my clients well, I'm confident that that is at a high level, a relatively high level for what I need to be able to do, I guess. Always more to learn. So prioritizing the stuff that's relevant to medicine and on all of that newer knowledge is more important. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that there's no, like, I don't put that in any one box. Okay, so additional study for me is something that I would do out of interest and for leisure anyway, because I enjoy that, and the fact that it just happens to also serve college in this case is a bonus, I guess you could say. So when I am studying, it's not just the stuff that's on the course material, it's also stuff that is of interest to me based on the things that I'm actually interested in. So I think that should give you some insight into, I guess, the practicality of time management in my world. So you can see there's obviously a big time investment there. As we said, maybe 40 to 50 hours that one could say is allocated to college work, and then an additional I don't know, like 20 hours of straight up constant triage work, and an additional maybe 10 to 15 hours that is variable, you could say. So I think that is most of it. Again, like, the purpose of this isn't to say I work X hours per week, because I don't know. Like, I don't look at things in terms of that. I've never looked at things in terms of that. Like, for example, when we pay ourselves weekly with triage, and I've genuinely never even thought, like, how much do I get paid per hour, because, like, that's not the way I think of things. It's like, I would, if I had the opportunity to put 80 hours a week into triage, I'd put 80 hours a week into triage, even if it was for the same salary, because it's very different when you have your own business. And I think when you, like, people that do will understand, because it's sort of like the more you do, the better your business is going to be, the better service you can provide for your clients, the better educational content we can put out, which is ultimately our mission. Like, that's our actual mission. It's what we want to achieve, independent of whether my salary goes up or down on a week-to-week basis. So yeah, like, I think that sounds like something that could be false if you didn't have your own business, if you've only ever worked for someone else. But when you have your own business, it is definitely very different. You do look at things much differently. And that's just an interesting point that I've never thought about, how much I get paid per hour, because again, it could be one week I work 20 hours, it could be another week I work 40 hours, and like what is work? Like, if I didn't have a business, would I still read the research that is relevant to the exercise science field that I happen to be interested in? Yes, I absolutely would. Would I still be trying to read certain books that are going to improve my critical thinking abilities and make me a better coach or educator in the long term? Yes, absolutely, I would. So what is and isn't work becomes blurred when you have your own business. And also, I think if you're passionate about anything that you do, for example, even if you're just talking about just medicine, you know, you're not just studying in the evening because you get paid to study, like, because you don't. You're studying because you want to get better at your job, not just for the purpose of that being work, but because you're interested, but because it's interesting to you, and that's why you get into it. So yeah, that is my talk for today. Relatable to some of you, maybe unrelatable to others. I think people that have their own business will understand a lot of the things that I brought up, especially towards the end, but there are still so many of you that can apply some of the messages that are delivered here. Like, there's lots of you that are in college, there's lots of you that have jobs and that are trying to do other things on the side. I know loads of personal trainers that follow Triage that are not all in on their personal training business yet because they also work an additional job. And absolutely respect to all of those people, and respect to anyone that is, you know that you're working 9 to 5 but you're still trying to go on and chase other things. Like, I appreciate that there's a lot of effort involved in that. There's a lot of sacrifice in terms of your personal life and doing all of the things that other people your age might be. You know, if you're in your early 20s, that's especially the case. There's probably things you're missing out on while you're chasing those goals that you happen to have. So fair play. So yeah, this video, it's nothing really. It's just me trying to continue to deliver things about my life that I think will in some way help you or be relatable to you, or that you were interested in because you asked about them. So that was something that someone asked about specifically, was how do you manage your time when you've got multiple things going on? And of course there's additional things we can discuss, but I don't want the video to be too long. One of the big ones would be prioritization, like not allocating time to things that don't matter to you. Like, just ditch them. If it doesn't matter to you, out. Out of here, man. Like, only things that are of benefit you have to keep in, and things that are important to you. And that includes your relationships. It includes walking your dog. It includes visiting your mother. You know, they're all important things. Or they might be. They mightn't be. Like, that's fine. Who am I to judge? So yeah, hopefully that's helpful, guys. If you do enjoy these videos, as always, you know, if you enjoy me just kind of talking and not talking about a specific like nutrition topic, but talking about this kind of life stuff, do let me know, because I think all of this is really important if you're trying to be fit and healthy, because you have to be able to manage your time. We've all got things going on outside the gym, and that's why I always put a very large emphasis in all of our educational content on discussing the realities of everyday life for people, because I think it's really important. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you do have questions or comments, just drop them down below. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, firstly, you know, be happy. I say it at the end of every video, because I think we should all be very grateful for the opportunities that we happen to have. You know, I'm always reminded of that every day, that, you know, any of the stress that I feel, the fact that, you know, oh, I've got these check-ins to do, I've got this study to do, I've got to be in college for 12, blah blah blah, like, it's just noise compared to some of the things that fellow human beings have to deal with on this planet. And that's not just a historical thing, that's currently. There are people that suffer a lot more than we do, and I'm always grateful for that. So keep that in mind, and remember that it is, of course, too easy.